In today's session of Visual JForex, we will be trying to complete the algorithm using the indicator Kairi Relative Index. This is the old Japanese indicator which we are using to guide us through while determining the trade direction, whether to go for the buy trade or the sell trade. Using this indicator, we will be looking for the opportunities. So let us now go back to the Visual JForex board, which has been developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA. In the prior sessions, I had added these blocks where the instrument subscription has been done. The instrument of choice is Euro USD, then the position amount was defined at 0. I got these four Kairi blocks of the hourly time period and different shift values 1, 2, 3, and 8 respectively to do the comparison and look for the opportune time to go for the initiation of the trade. Along with that, we are also relying on the price action. For that, these get historical candles, three candles of different shift values are being used. The candle period is hourly, and these two candles are for pinpointing the exact entry point. In the calculation expression, these values have been defined. This is the minimum pip difference which needs to be in between the last hour's closing and the opening value, and this was buy side stop loss and target price, which were dynamic and dependent on the actual price difference. Then I had added the conditions using these if-else statements, if-else blocks, which need to be fulfilled prior to the execution of the buy trade. Now today's session is going to be revolving around the development on the sell side. So we will be looking at the conditions which we need to define for the execution of the sell trade, and for that I will briefly explain to you the logic for the execution of the trade. We want the divergence between the KRE values and the price action. The KRE values should be starting to decline and it should be forming a lower high, whereas at the same time the price action should be forming a higher high. So that kind of divergence we will be looking at, and I think in recent past we will have to search for that kind of instance. I think this is somewhere that the required setup unfolded. We have on the price action front a higher high, whereas on the indicator side the lower high is being formed. The second high should be lower than the prior high, and in case of price action it should be reverse of that. The second high should be higher. So that's how we are going about this, and along with that the required condition is also going to be for the price action. We want the last hour's closing value to be less than its opening value by at least more than 10 pips. So we will be looking at the price difference, the pip value difference between these closing and opening values. So let us go back to the Visual JForex board, and here first thing we will have to do is get couple of calculation expression block, and one will be utilized to look at the price difference. Now the condition is going to be inverted. We will need to deduct the closing value from the opening value, as in case of the sale trade we want the closing value to be lower than the opening value, and then the difference between the two values should be, as I have said multiple times, more than this minimum pip difference, which is 10 pips. And also we will have to define the stop loss and target price depending on this value separately for the sell side. So we start with the calculation expression. We are going to need three of these at the minimum. So I will take this in one go. Stop loss and target price we will define later on. For the time being, we will be more focused on figuring out the difference between the last hour's closing and opening value. and we are going to use candle 20s, candle open and candle close value. So we will have to go to auto created variable and deduct the closing value from the opening value. So we need these two values, and the result is going to be A1 minus A2. Inside actual difference. Okay. And these calculations are also fairly easy. All we need is take this difference and multiply it with pip conversion factor. Only thing we will not do right now is defining this variable output value, which we need to define in a different data type. It should be of integer data type. So we will leave it blank for the time being. A1 into A2. Okay. And with this, and now component, we are going to need logical components, if else blocks, and we are going to need, if I'm not wrong, I think 11. So I will take all these if blocks. Okay. We are looking to initiate the sell trade when we see that the underlying instrument has been in overbought territory for quite a while. So we need all these output values of the Kairi relative index above 0. Output 13, output 17, output 18, and output 19. Second input is going to be common, 0. First input greater than second input, first input greater than second input. Okay. Then we want to initiate the trade when we see that the last hour's carry output value is lower than the penultimate hour's carry relative index value. So we have to compare output 13 and output 17. And it should be first input less than second input, whereas output 17 needs to be greater than output 18. Earlier it was rising and then in last hour it started to decline. So this should be initiation of a possible decline, and we want to get involved during the initial hour. First input less than no, let me, this should be first input greater than second input. And as I have said, we need to be looking at lower high. So we want output 17 to be less than output 19, which is the Kairi relative index value 8 hours back. The look back period is 8. So output 17 needs to be less than output 19. Okay, so we have done the comparison between these different values to define the conditions. Now the focus is going to shift to the price action, and here we want oh, this difference between the opening and closing value to be greater than minimum quick difference. First input greater than second input. I think something. Okay, so this needs to be disconnected, and output 17 less than output 19 needs to be joined here. Okay. And we also have to compare the price action where we want last hour's close, not last hour's close, the candle 21's closing value, which is the penultimate candle, should be higher than the hourly close 8 hours back. So candle 21's candle close needs to be higher than candle 22nd candle close of that. Okay, first input greater than second input, and I think with this we have mostly defined the conditions involving the price action as well as the indicator Kairi. These two if conditions we will use to define the exact endpoint for the execution of the order. And let us join these blocks. So we'll have to take first this and candle 23 and candle 24 closing values needs to be compared with candle 20 candle close, and whenever price starts to drop below the candle 20's candle close, we will be looking to initiate the trade. So this is going to be the second input in both these if blocks. Candle 23 has the shift value of 1, that means it was last 10-second candle, so its closing value needs to be less than the candle 20's candle close, whereas candle 24, which has a shift of 2, needs to have closed higher. And after this we will bring in the trading block. Open at market, first input greater than second input, this is going to be sale, input values which we have to define now. Default instrument will remain as it is. Trade amount, I will define it at 0.1 million. Leakage we will change to 2 pips. Stop loss, I will create a variable and we will assign it here. SSL, inside stop loss, and its value will be derived from this calculation, and twice of it will be target price. And we have already defined a variable which has the variable value of 2. Yes, it is TPC, and the calculation remains the same, A1 into A2, and there is going to be a new variable named STP. Okay. So all these conditions have been defined now, and we will check it once whether it is symmetric or not. Yes, it's looking symmetric. And as per the color coded line, you can see that the algorithm iteration flow is going all the way till the very end. That means our algorithm should be working well whenever we will be looking to execute the trade. I would suggest that once you are done with the block arrangement and have designed this algorithm on your platform, you should be running the test on the historical tester on JForex platform, and there you can carry out the testing for many months, even years, and see whether the algorithm which we have developed is profitable or not. And depending on the result, you can decide to use it or carry out some modification. So that's it from my side for today's session. Thank you all for joining in. Do subscribe to the Dukascopy webinar channel to stay updated on market developments. See you next time. Till then, goodbye.